Okay, I think we'll start out with the point about the cultural relevance of any educational material.
Now, did you want me to reiterate the question, or will your question be?
No, that's okay. We don't have to worry about the question. We'll cut this as though you were just talking to someone and they had asked you that question. Okay? So I think...
if you'll just talk to Welby.
Welby just talk to me right behind the camera, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I'd like to ask you about, Violet, is the whole business of cultural relevance in education. Why is it important?
Today in the United States we have a problem with everyone wanting to be recognized, and for years, since the beginning of public school education, this has been ignored. We started out with Thorndike and Dewey's feelings about public education, which were marvelous, except that they're all modeled after the very same type of structure. You feed a child facts, the child feeds the facts back to you, and therefore you are, in essence, educating him, and he will be able to perform. He will be able to be a responsible adult, hopefully. The problem with this is we've left out those components that make leaders of people. We have left out the essence of one's self-image. We haven't attended to making a well-rounded individual. Rather, we have been busy patterning all of the schools so they look alike, they think alike, so that we plug a child in at the kindergarten level and he comes out, if he stays in school long enough, he comes out at the 12th grade level, and then he marches into a college system or a university system that has been patterned to making more of the same. I feel that it's important for Indian country to become leaders in this field of innovative education, to get back to what makes an individual a leader rather than a follower. And to do that, we must go directly into the home. We must use parents. We must use the backgrounds of the people that we're dealing with. I don't care what color, what race, what creed, it doesn't matter. What does matter is getting to the individual, enhancing the self-concept so that they'll have the strength and the energy to pursue a career or to pursue thoughts that they have in making changes, rather than everyone becoming something out of the same melting pot.
In line with that goal, now, what sorts of things well, first of all, tell me a little bit about the group that you're working with, that you're the director of in your project. Just sort of outline what the goals of that project are.
The goals of my project are to provide support services for the Yakima Indian Nation's early childhood programs. And support services mean a variety of things. They mean working with parents in developing curriculum materials. It means developing curriculum materials with the staff that I have from this project. It means teacher training. It means anything that is needed in support of our present early childhood programs on the Yakima Indian Reservation.
Okay. Now, in this connection, what entities do you work with? I suppose you work with parents, you work with teachers, you work with the public education system, and are there any others?
Well, the others are going out and acting as a consultant.
Those entities that you work with first.
First, I would like to start out with our teacher preparation program. This is very important to me because the teachers that I'm working with, for the most part, were high school dropouts or didn't make it to high school. I'm not attending to that level of teenage through 22. My people are usually over 25 up through 55. They are what you would call the misplaced people, the people that got thrown out of the melting pot. The people that really weren't given a chance to develop their full potential because of the way our present public school education system has been set up. So when they came to work in our tribal programs, we wanted Indian people working with Indian children, because you see, if we didn't have that, we would be thrusting upon our own children the same problems that the public school is having and perpetuating a system. We wanted our own system. So we worked with our people on site and worked with a college in the state of Washington to develop an on-site, in-service teacher preparation. Now this, in essence, is a work experience. They work for our early childhood programs full-time, and they go to school for us on release time, 6 hours a day, 1 day a week. And at the end of 4.5 years, they will receive their degree in early childhood education and have the state certification necessary to teach from kindergarten through 6th grade in the public school systems in this state.
Okay. Now what I'd like to know about is you're trying to develop teachers with whom the children can relate in terms of their own cultural history. And what resources, say from the Yakima culture, do you draw on in order to develop these kinds of materials?
Okay, we have a vast number of natural resources. We have our stories that have been handed down called legends for centuries. We have the designs. We have the basic raw materials right here in our heads. And so if you take a look here, using photographs of flowers.
Hold on just a second. What I want to do before we get into that, put the machine in record again.
Tape is rolling now.
Okay, go ahead.
The Yakima Indian Nation's first endeavor in early childhood education was with Head Start. And then 5 years ago, it was necessary to expand early childhood programs because there was a very neglected area in curriculum and in parent involvement, in teacher training, and so the Yakima Nation had a proposal written called Support for Early Childhood Education Programs, and that is what this project is all about. It is a Title 4B funded project. The tribe is the grantee. We now serve Head Start, daycare, kindergarten support, preschool handicap, home base, and then of course the teacher training program, and all of these then fall under support services that we give. The types of things that we get involved in the public school are coordinating with them in showing how they can train present teacher aides in the school system, also providing some of the early childhood curriculum materials to their kindergarten and first grade programs if they request it.
Let me just ask you. Put your glasses
Yes,
on.
just a minute.
Okay.
Oh dear.
Yes. Is tape rolling?
Yeah. Okay, go ahead and talk about the effect on the children, the effect on the Yakima Nation, and the effect on the outer
Okay.
side.
The Yakima Indian Nation is seeing a child who is more capable of going into the public school system and questioning why something needs to be done rather than accepting it. He has had his self-concept enhanced. His parents have worked with him in the early childhood programs. They have been actively involved at the local Head Start daycare meetings. They've had a voice in the program. The self-concept from the parents has been enhanced. We feel we're sending a strengthened child and parent onto the public school, and that both have an idea as to how they're going to function in this new role of the public school system. We did have a model developed last year at the Resource Center, or Project CCEP, the one that I direct, where we brought in parents on their lunch hour. And we asked parents, what were some of the things that you did when you were a child? And first the step was to make a list. Some parents listed, we would walk through the field and we would put pick flowers and put them on dead cows. And so we said, all right, now stop, let's take a look at that. What kinds of things do you think that we can do in our situation, early childhood, with that thought? And so they thought perhaps that they could help the children adjust to death by using this experience that this parent had had years ago. They developed then a lesson plan for our Head Start programs to use, helping children understand the concept of death. And then they went on and adapted things for fishing, for hunting, for tracking, many different subjects, but things that came out of their own background.
Terrific. What's been the impact so far in terms of outreach into the public schools of your, say, teacher training materials?
We've had public schools come through the Resource Center, and when they do this, we give them a sample of all of the projects that we have made. We have had very few public schools in our own area come through the Resource Center. We are, interestingly enough, getting many requests from out of this school district, and they are the elementary teachers, the kindergarten, and the first grade teachers who teach in the public school and have Indian children in the classroom. And this is one of our objectives, to serve these people.
Okay.
Okay. Our teacher training program started out 5 years ago with quite a large turnover in our system of Head Start daycare programs. Once this was instituted 4 years ago, we did have a problem of keeping the students, and we lost about 5 students out of 25 that first year. Now we're losing 0. In fact, we're gaining ground from other programs, other interested people sending adult students to us. We have structured an MA program to help Indians teach these programs, and right now there are 15 minorities, 13 of them Indian BAs, going through our on-site master's program. Our philosophy is that we need to bring the colleges to the reservations. Colleges cannot train our people in on their campuses. It's an unreal situation. We need to get the colleges in a real situation. We need these instructors to take a look at what our lives really are about on reservations. One of the problems then has been to sensitize the college instructor to our particular problems and insist that he specifically address those issues.
Terrific. If we could.
Here is a sample of some of the curriculum materials that have been developed. Oops. Here is a sample of some curriculum materials developed at Project CSEP. These were developed to help children think. The cognitive materials on this side are designed to be used in any early childhood program or early childhood preschool handicap program or kindergarten or first grade program in the public school. The things that we have here are designed to help children become thinkers and therefore leaders and not followers. This one, first we went out in the field and took a picture of one of our tribal members digging roots. When we came back, we sequenced these so that the children would have to sequence them in a series. The next step then for the child, after he can sequence the photos of the root digging, would be to match them to the line drawings. Now this is a perceptual problem that a child must figure out because they're not matched exactly. This one is a little bit different. This is helping children understand how movement is made for animals. We take a look at the deer, for example, and we have a carpentry shop at the Resource Center so that we have options on the kinds of materials we can use. This is called a three-way match, where the child must recognize the animal, also then more specifically what one of the feet would look like, and then how would that shape be made with the hand. And we do this with several other animals also, so the child would have to pick from these. This is just one sample. This is a game, and a child must attend to 2 directions in this game. These, for example, are the dice that he would roll. And we teach symbolizing because our philosophy is that if a child can break the code of symbolizing, that he will have an easier time understanding the alphabet. If you arrange symbols in a series, they will tell a story. If you arrange the letters of the alphabet in a series, they will tell a word, and then these words can be arranged to tell for sentences and communication, and that's one of the ways we use symbols in our program. This game then, the child would roll the dice and look through the cards to find the cloud, the yellow cloud, and then put it under the right column. This is a patterning activity, and we use our Indian dancers to do this. For example, I would lay 3 of these down, and the child would go and find the next 3 for the pattern. We also, on follow-up with our animals and tracking, particularly with matching, because children do a lot of hunting with their fathers and families, we would have the children choose the footprints to match the pattern. For example, this is a jackrabbit pattern. Again, with the deer, this is a series or sequencing, how the deer would get his antlers from the very time that they drop to the end. With the help of one of our photographers, we received some fine photographs, and we'd make a pattern, and the children would then match the photographs on the card. We find that in early childhood programs and in most schools, there is a lack of poetry. So to encourage our teachers to use more poetry, we had them make we call them feely pictures, and it's a three-dimensional way of helping a child enjoy the poem as it's being spoken. This is a Chippewa poem about the owl. We had to find a way that children could use our legends in a simplified way so that they could put the stories in a sequence. This also includes some of our Yakima Indian words, because we do have a Yakima Indian language program in each of our schools. This is a simplified version of a legend. There are 10 legends in this book. Nathan Olney illustrated the book and helped me put the stories together in a very simplified way. And this is one of the Resource Center's project. This is the story of the two big snakes, and a teacher must take the illustrations and ditto them so that each child will have his own copy. And the story goes on about how the snakes were tangled up and caused an earthquake, and they don't race anymore, but they all live on this mountain. In this too, we tried to get children to acquaint themselves with the geography of the area, and we talk about south of White Swan or north of this area so that they can locate this way also.
Stand by just a second, and then I want you to introduce yourselves again, and then I'll ask you the first question.
And give us your title. If you're a teacher, just give your name and say teacher, teacher, instructor, or whatever.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, my name is Doris Cook. I'm an instructor with the Adult Education program in the evening classes.
My name is Tom Beeson, and I'm an instructor with the day session of Tribal Adult Education.
My name is Georgiana Frank. I'm the outreach worker for the Adult Education program.
Okay, can you all tell us essentially how this program got started, how it got off the ground, and where the funding comes from?
Well, it's my understanding that the program was initially created as a Title IV project, a program written up by the BIA 2 years ago, and to be tribally implemented. And basically, the program is a tribal program which does receive multi-fundings. It receives other funds besides the Title IV funds. It also receives Title III funds through the community college up in Yakima.
Tell us a little about the goals of the program.
The goal, basically, of the program is to provide academic instructional opportunities for those students who have not been able to finish their high school diploma. We also provide any kind of academic education that a student or potential student or just any adult might need.
Okay. Now, can you tell me, one of you tell me a little bit about how this program is related to, say, the Indian culture or to the culture of the Yakima tribe? Georgiana, you want to take that?
See, but we try to begin early in the fall when a lot of the students that have gone, they're still fishing or still up mountains or not in school for the first 30 days. We work with the students and we go to the high schools and see the counselors there, and they refer these names and we find them, or else they're referred into the program where they come to the night class where they are getting help to catch up or else making up credits so they can maintain their grade level.
How do you use cultural or historical activities from the Yakima tribe in the kinds of teaching that you do?
during our first year, we had like as a community resource day where we'd have speakers come in from the various tribal programs to expose them to the students that are enrolled during the day sessions. And now and then we'd get them scheduled for the evening, have the evening students in on the same resource people that come in.
Would somebody else like to speak to that?
Since our program is basically academic, we test them in reading and math, but we do try through our library, which has a lot of Indian stories of successful and famous Indian people, and just the legends, to slant their materials that way so they become more interested in reading about the type of people which they are received their basic culture from.
What about this business of self-concept that you were talking about earlier? Don't you think that that too plays a part in using these materials?
Oh, that definitely builds their self-concept. That they
Just
can
tell me a little bit about how you go about building self-concept, say, by using these materials.
Well, they can see themselves in that place, in a famous Indian athlete or a doctor or a person who has become a well-known artist. They can see themselves. They understand the material. They understand this person has the way of life they have is very similar to theirs, and it just makes them feel better after reading this type of material. And having the instructor let them read it as part of an English assignment or part of a reading assignment.
Okay. What about the impact on the community as a whole, Georgiana, say on the people in the tribe? How would you say this program has impacted upon them? What's the tribe's reaction to this program?
Well, it's pretty good with, we work a lot with the other tribal programs. There's like with daycare centers, teachers' aides that has not completed high school and are working aides and need to get this GED or their high school diplomas. They're referred into the program. We've worked with forestry employees that have come in to upgrade
We have been busy patterning all of the schools so they look alike, they think alike, so that we plug a child in at the kindergarten level and he comes out, if he stays in school long enough, he comes out at the 12th grade level, and then he marches into a college system or a university system that has been patterned to making more of the same. I feel that it's important for Indian country to become leaders in this field of innovative education.
Okay, I think we'll start out with the point about the cultural relevance of any educational material.
Now, did you want me to reiterate the question, or will your question be?
No, that's okay. We don't have to worry about the question. We'll cut this as though you were just talking to someone and they had asked you that question. Okay? So I think...
If you'll just talk to Welby,
just
Welby
talk
will...
to me right behind the camera, okay?
To get back to what makes an individual a leader rather than a follower. And to do that, we must go directly into the home. We must use parents. We must use the backgrounds of the people that we're dealing with. I don't care what color, what race, what creed, it doesn't matter. What does matter is getting to the individual, enhancing the self-concept so that they'll have the strength and the energy to pursue a career or to pursue thoughts that they have in making type of structure. You feed a child facts, the child feeds the facts back to you, and therefore you are, in essence, educating him, and he will be able to perform. He will be able to be a responsible adult, hopefully. The problem with this is we've left out those components that make leaders of people. We have left out the essence of one's self-image. We haven't attended to making a well-rounded individual. Rather...
So the first thing I'd like to ask you about, Violet, is the whole business of cultural relevance in education. Why is it important?
Today in the United States we have a problem with everyone wanting to be recognized, and for years, since the beginning of public school education, this has been ignored. We started out with Thorndike and Dewey's feelings about public education, which were marvelous, except that they're all modeled after the very same